What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Elevation here with another episode of the JBP Elevated, where we speak on the Joe Budden podcast and all of his co-hosts on and off the pod. Well, Joe is continuing his experiment, and unfortunately for us as the audience, it's working. Everybody's looking at the viewership of Improper Improv 2, not realizing the comparison in the entire space. I'm not comparing Flip's numbers to Joe's numbers. Joe is number one for a reason. I'm comparing Flip's numbers to everyone else in the sphere. The very first podcast that I went to was Rory and Mal. They have not surpassed 100,000 views in at least 2 to 3 weeks. Every time Flip goes on, he surpasses 100,000 views. We have to make the comparison with the peers in the space. So by those metrics, Flip's show is successful. Even without those metrics, Flip's show is successful. Whether we like the show or not is a completely different sphere. Joe is only going to use the analytics from the show to bolster his network. It doesn't matter what product Flip is putting out. If 100,000 people are going to tune in to a live stream show every week, I'm winning. Behind the scenes, they're dropping these bad boys like a television show. Joe said in the behind the scenes that this is an auxiliary show, meaning it's not an actual show, it's like an extracurricular activity. But we get paid from this. Joe, little word of advice, although you don't need any from me. If you want BTS to be a success like Podwise, you need to give the people on BTS incentives. Let them know that there will be incentivized reasons to be or provide your best performances behind the scenes. The reason BTS is a thing is because for years, Joe has always alluded to, we should hear the conversations that niggas have in the kitchen. This is the in the kitchen content that he was talking about, and y'all are failing because y'all are talking about snitch cam. No, nigga. Just like Park said, we can still edit this shit out just like we edit the main part out. Y'all have to look at this as a product. If we help Joe ascend to the level that he's trying to ascend to, he's going to help us in the long run. I.e. Parks. Look at Parks. Anyway, he has Podwise. That's super successful. It's only been one episode, but the engagement he received from that episode is why his experiment's going to continue even further. Newsflash, everyone. I alluded to it a week or so ago that Joe is going to be missing Saturday pods. It happened. Y'all can believe he was sick all you want to. 2 things stood out to me. Parks reading the initial ad read, letting people know that it was sponsored and powered by Prize Picks like Joe normally does. And Parks playing the Joe ad read. We're not letting none of you niggas fuck this bag up. This is our shit. So if he was sick, how did he already have that in the tuck? But he wasn't sick because they alluded to him speaking in the group chat the night prior. This is part of the experiment, guys. 2 experiments. Joe is trying to segue away from the podcast. I've been saying that for months. It's happening. 2, I'm experimenting different variations and iterations of the podcast to see what works, because I don't work for Spotify, Apple, or any of these other conglomerates anymore. I have control of the analytics. So when I see Mark, Ish, and Mel bringing way better numbers than a Flip, Ice, and a Parks, then I would know how to adjust the iterations. And that was just an example. Clearly, they're not going to be paired together like that. But I know who to put who with who. I knew who to lead. This is about to be the end of Flip's trial run of being the A mic on the Patreon and the main pod, since Joe decided he wanted to miss a main pod. Next time, look for Mark Lamont Hill to lead. Look for Melissa Ford to lead. And since it's kind of already out there, Ian, he's on the show now. Let Ian lead a pod. And I'm not saying for our sake, but we're going to be the ones helping Joe make a business decision. Everything that's happening is part of Joe's experiment to segue the fuck out of here. If Joe can get 2 more shows, successful shows, it's a wrap. Also, if you haven't been paying attention to this, the Patreon drops during the Christmas run. Joe would always put Patreons on the YouTube channel to try to garner more subscribers to the Patreon. This year has been the smartest and probably the most successful year for Joe, because instead of doing any of that, I'm giving y'all snippets on YouTube and I'm putting daily drops every day on Patreon. So the people that are already paying, you'll want to up your tier, because the $10 tier is only getting episode 2 or episode 5 of behind the scenes. The $10 tier is only getting a snippet of Podwise. The $5 tier is only getting a snippet of a snippet, and so on and so forth. He's building the Patreon subscription base through the Patreon subscribers. If I can get the people that are already paying to pay more, I don't have to worry about an influx of new subscribers. And because of my experiment, every time a major topic comes up, they're going to want to hear me talk about it. You got to pay to see me. If you want to see me on more than one pod a week, you have to pay to see me. Don't be surprised if Joe misses another main pod within a month time frame. It's not because he's sick. It's not because of his blood pressure or anything of that sort. This is an experiment to see what my business can do without me here. Everyone knows we pay attention and watch the Joe Budden podcast for Joe Budden. I saw it in the comments yesterday. Everyone was upset because Joe wasn't there. And it makes sense. But Joe's not trying to pod forever. But I am trying to figure out how to sustain this pod forever. Let this man experiment. If we rock with Joe, we'll rock with the experiment and we'll vehemently speak our minds. People think that I'm tearing the podcast apart. Meanwhile, I'm helping Joe keep it together. It's because of our critiques and it's because of our assessments of the pod that Joe's going to be able to put out the best product for us in the long term. So we have to help Joe help us. If we don't like Ian on the pod, even though I personally like Ian, if we don't like Ian on the pod, we have to constantly say we don't like Ian on the pod or don't say anything at all. Either way it goes, lack of engagement and all the engagement in the world is going to help him make these decisions, whether they're fruitful or not. But I'm just letting y'all know what's happening. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I apologize for not dropping yesterday. I've been trying to keep up with the daily drops with Joe, and I didn't want to just throw out videos just because he's throwing out videos every day. So let me gather my thoughts, and we can get this going the right way. But I will have another video coming out today. I can't leave y'all hanging for too long, man. I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all later today, and if not, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.